Hi, my name is Roger from Juice Bikes, and I'm going to show you how to install a controller on an RCS and CC. So this installation will actually be for either bike. It's pretty much the same, other than the bikes do look a little different. In order to start, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, a 2.5 millimeter hex Allen wrench, some side cutters or scissors, those will work great. I have a tri-wrench, some pliers, and some zip ties, and also some alcohol that's going to help you put on a rubber strip that's underneath the bike. So we're going to start by first removing your battery. So you're going to stick your key in, turn that, and then remove the battery. So now we're going to start by basically cutting all your zip ties. Carefully cut all these. We want to make sure that we're not cutting into the cable itself. So you're going to have zip ties all along here. And there's also going to be a few of them that are going to be underneath here, right next to your bottom bracket. So we want to make sure we get all these cut. Your cable's hanging down here, and you're going to disconnect your cable here for your motor. You're going to disconnect your cable here. This is for your torque sensor. And we'll get these out of the way. Yep. All right. Okay. If you have a RipCurrent 2022, your motor cable is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be on the left side here, on the side with your rotor. Otherwise, everything else is the same. You're going to unclip these right here. So you're going to unclip all these zip ties. And in order to take this one off, you're going to unscrew this and there. And then your motor cable is off on your RipCurrent 2022. And if you have any zip ties holding these two cables here, you're going to cut this also. And you're going to disconnect your 5-to-1 cable, or 4-to-1 depending on what bike you have. And then you're going to disconnect your light. So we're going to take this rubber strip off here underneath basically this down tube. So you can use a screwdriver or whatever you can get in there, just be careful. And kind of pry that like that. And then just kind of pull this down. All right, so now the rubber channel is out, and you can pull these cables that we just disconnected out of the way. So now we have all our cables are disconnected and out of the way, and now we can go on to the next step of actually removing the controller. So you're going to see this little Phillips head right here. You're going to take your Phillips head screwdriver and remove this screw for this cover. And this is sometimes a little hard. There we go. Grab the cover and take the cover off. Now you're going to take your 2.5 hex Allen wrench. And you're going to start with this bottom one here. This is the bottom bolt. I'm going to loosen that up. You don't have to pull it all the way out, but just make sure that it's loose enough. And then we'll take our 2.5 and loosen this bolt. And we take this cover off. All right. And this is your XT plug-in, and it could be, most of them are zip tied. So you're going to cut this zip tie off. You're going to unplug this and then set this aside. All right, now you're going to take your tri-tool, or if you have just even a 4mm Allen tool, and we're going to loosen these bolts here. And these are holding your controller in, so we need to make sure that these are totally out. to take this whole little vent plate off also. So now your controller is ready to be removed. You can kind of pull with this right here. Just pull the controller out. And pull all the cables through. And there, now your controller is removed. We also do have other older models that do not have the two bolts in here. With those, you're just gonna basically, you don't have to worry about taking those bolts out or the vent. You're gonna just basically pull the whole controller out just like I did. So now we have our new controller, and we're gonna install the new controller. So we're gonna start by, you're gonna take your motor cable and your cable to your torque sensor, and you're gonna put it through here, and you're gonna kind of fish it down into the, you'll see a hole in there. We're gonna get these out. And you're gonna take this XT60 and you're gonna make sure this is kind of behind here, so it's gonna kind of wrap around like that. And then we have our 4-to-1 and our light connection, and we're gonna kind of get those in there. And so with your fingers, try to find them and pull them through. It can be a little difficult at times. Make sure all your cables are out. This is underneath, and we're gonna slide your controller, making sure, if you have the bolt-on style, that your bolt holes are over here on this drive, on this side right here, which is your left side. And just make sure you don't have any cables bunching up or anything like that. So now, making sure that the XT60, this plug-in, is right here and accessible. We're gonna try to make sure that these bolt holes line up to your vent plate here. And you're gonna take your 4mm Allen and let's see, there we go. You can kind of see, if you have a hard time, you can see the little hole right in there. Use a little bit of light if you need to. There we go. And once you get one of them in, the other one should line up. Make sure these are tight. All right, and we're now ready to start getting everything connected. So you're gonna leave out over here on your, it's gonna be a left side of your bike. You're gonna make sure these two are here. The one for your 5-to-1, or your 4-to-1 actually. And hook that in, and you're going to hook your headlight in, and make sure you line up the little, there's arrows and notches, so you want to just make sure those are lined up. Okay, so tuck your cables in, make sure they go into the channel. Just do this, and we'll be putting the rubber channel on later, but we want to get most of them in there right now. So now we're going to hook up your cables. First, we're going to start with the motor cable. Line up your arrows. You got white arrows right here. Make sure to line those up. Put that in. And then we're going to do your torque sensor. These have little arrows also. They're kind of hard to see. They're like kind of black, but you can also use, there's little notches right here that you can also line up to help you line that up. Line those up. Now, we're going to start to zip tie everything back together. So, I'm going to start with this here. And we want to leave You want the zip ties tight, but not so tight as to actually crimp onto the cables. That's not a good thing. So all these, and you also have your, at some points you're going to see this is your derailleur cable. So you want to make sure you grab that also with this bundle of cables. And make sure you get all of them in. We got all these on this side. And also, usually have one here too. Clip the excess off, and then we'll also have a couple of them underneath on the bottom bracket also. So we're just going to make sure we get these zip ties right here, right near the bottom bracket. So we get this bundle of wires here. On some of the bikes you might have a little bit of excess, so you can kind of let this kind of like curve into this area here. Not all the bikes will have this, some of the older bikes won't, but most of the newer bikes will have this excess, so you can kind of just zip tie it here like that onto here, and make sure you get these excess off, and there you go. So now we're going to put your upper dock back in. So you have your XT60 connection here. Make sure you line these up properly. And we're going to put a zip tie in there to keep them together. So you're going to cut off the excess. Push that into there. That. Take your 2.5, your bolt, tighten that back into here. Your other bolt, your 2.5. Make sure to tighten that in. Sometimes you have to push down on this so you can line the hole up a little better. Make sure that's tight. Now you don't want it too tight, you want it snug. But you don't want to do these too tight. They're very fine pitch threads, so they just need to be snug. And we're going to put the cover back on. Snap it on. Take your Phillips head. Find your screw. Tighten that up. There we go. Now your dock's back on. So we're gonna put your channel, your rubber channel in. Okay, so you can use soapy water. We like to use alcohol because this was gonna help your channel basically kind of get lubricated a little bit to help you get this channel into the bike. So usually I spray alcohol in there pretty liberally because you want this thing to slide in as easy as possible. It will sometimes take you a few tries, but the alcohol does definitely help. All right, so now you're gonna find this channel in here. Make sure all your cables are tucked in. Try to get it into this channel here. We'll try to slide it as much as you can up. So I'm going to make sure your cables are properly out of the way here. So grab it and then push it. Although this one's not being cooperative. Pull a little bit of it out. There we go. And there we go. There we go. All right, now that you have all your cables ready to go back in, you're gonna reconnect this, make sure you line it up, screw this in, make sure it's tight, and reconnect all your zip ties. Make sure they're on there. Cut the excess, and there you go, you're all ready to go. Okay. All right, and also don't forget, if you have any zip ties holding like these two cables together, go ahead and zip tie them. That helps keep them kind of out of the way. Cut that, and there you go. All right. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and email or call customer support at Juice Bikes.